Hello, I'm Erin Riley, the Global CEO of TBWA, and I'm here with Breaking and Entering, talking about...
I want to understand what it's like to be a boss in advertising, maybe how to become a boss in advertising. Is that okay with you?
Sounds amazing.
Let's do it. Erin Riley, welcome to the Breaking and Entering Advertising Podcast. How the heck are you today?
I'm great. It's very good to be here.
Amazing. We're glad to have you here. You are the Global CEO of TBWA. Is this correct?
Last time I checked, yes.
Good. That's a big role. The whole theme of this episode, and what I want to get out of this for our listeners, is how to become a boss in advertising, because you are the boss. One of the best ad agencies, I would say, in the world, something I've been watching since I learned about advertising TBWA, going back to Shy Day LA, to the New York office crushing, to all the things that you guys are up to. Beyonce. Did you ever meet Beyonce?
I mean, I am part of the Beehive, but no, I did not get to meet her.
That would have been really good. But you guys are crushing it. So I'm pumped to have you on. How to become a boss. This is the episode here. Before we get into all of that, what do you like to do outside of advertising?
Oh my goodness. Well, I have 3 kids, 11, 6, and almost 4. So most of my time is spent chasing after them and, trying to be a good mom and not a crazy mom who's yelling all the time.
Are they on the TikToks? Are they on?
No.
Okay.
No. We're trying to, limit the screen time.
That's a whole other podcast.
Yeah.
Of figuring that out. That is interesting to me. Do you are there apps and stuff? Do they not have access to iPads?
Yeah, I mean, they do, but yeah, it's like restricted, it's like parental controls, and we try and keep it, not like open web access,
Totally.
Only the things that we give them control to.
Totally. So the first question here is, I need to know more about you, your role, and the agency today. So just give us the monologue here. What does it mean to be the global CEO of TBWA? What is the agency looking like today? We can work through it too.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So, all right. First, I'm Erin. We established that.
Boom.
I was born in Pittsburgh. So I'm a Steeler fan. So shout out to Steeler Nation.
The towels, the
terrible towel. And I think I knew early on that I was attracted to storytelling. I have like a big family, half Irish, half Italian. So lots of food, lots of drink, and like lots of loud storytelling all the time. So when I was younger, I didn't know what advertising was. But I think I was really attracted to that sort of art of influence and persuasion and humor and melancholy and all of that. And my dad was a small business owner, but was like, marketing his painting company with like a hearse that he covered with his logo and like all of these things to kind of break through.
Painting company, hearse.
Yeah, right. Didn't go together. He'd like dress up mannequins and put them in the front yard of like the residence that he was
There's
painting.
something there.
There's like
there's disruption there.
That's exactly. So I think the seeds were planted early.
Mm-hmm.
Went to Syracuse University pursuing journalism, I thought at the time. But back then you had to actually read the newspaper and take like quizzes on the day's events, which I thought was really boring. So I found my way into advertising because in a very, I think, cliche way, it was like a really nice intersection between business, strategy, understanding people and society, and the arts. And those were all things that I was interested in. And, I'm sure we'll get into, how to build a career, but that sort of brought me about a decade ago to TBWA at Shy Day LA. And I had always sort of been a fan of disruption because early in my career, someone gifted me this beautiful, like hard covered book called Disruption Stories, which was Lee Clow and Jean-Marie Drew putting in paper, in writing, the power of the methodology that drives us in all of these amazing case studies from Apple to Adidas and onwards. And I was like, this is it. This is the Holy Grail. Like, this is how you do this thing that we do, not knowing that decades later I would have the privilege of getting to run that company and still practice disruption today.
Absolutely. I remember I remember like a triangle video, like a square video.
Yes.
Is that
Yes.
what was that? Is that still a
Yeah,
thing?
I mean,
the framework?
but yeah. So basically, disruption is a methodology. It's also like an ethos and a worldview. It's just a spirit, but the methodology part of it is grounded by something that we call the roadmap, which is brutally simple by design, and the symbols are associated with the three parts of that roadmap, which starts with convention. That's like the status quo. That's the thing we're kind of fighting against. It's the thing that traps you in like a very incremental way of thinking. What we're working towards is the vision. That's the sort of circle, and that's sort of the most ambitious, transcendent view of what your brand or business is capable of. And then the triangle is the disruption, and that's really the idea that helps get you from one to the other. And there's obviously lots of thinking and sort of tools and exercises that we do, but it's really kind of at its most fundamental and essential, that sort of approach. And like the whole, I think, vibe of the agency is about breaking convention in ways that deliver things that maybe you didn't even know was possible.
Totally. So that ethos still is present today. And going into the agency today, can we get some understanding of some of the clients that you guys are working with, like some initiatives that you guys are doing, some of the offices that you guys have, just for the people that want a little bit more info on TBWA today?
Yeah,
Let's give
sure.
them a rundown.
Yeah. So TBWA is a global, we call ourselves collective, not network, because of the intimacy and the bonds that we forge. But it's over 11,000 people. I think we're up to 250 plus offices in and around the world, and we work with some of the world's most iconic brands. So Apple is a brand that's a very big part of our history. Started in Scheid LA. Obviously now Media Arts Lab does just amazing work, and we work with Levi's and Gatorade and Hilton and Carnival and Platis and Singapore Airlines and Telstra and tons and tons of really wonderful brands. They're all united by this commitment to disrupting and recognizing that the status quo is not like a winning place to be.
So what is your job then?
So primarily, I think my job is to protect the soul of this brand. Not every agency and every network has a soul. I think we really do uniquely. It's part of that disruption, not just being an IP, but sort of an ethos. And I think over the years, the connections that have been formed and the kinds of people that we attract and keep. And so there's a very big part of my job that's just keeping that alive, being like the chief advocate for disruption, both in our own business, that we are continually disrupting ourselves so that we can help disrupt categories and marketplaces for our clients, and really creating the conditions for disruptive creativity to thrive. I mean, we are a creative agency proudly. I think we believe absolutely that creativity can solve any kind of problem, and there is true commercial advantage in disruptive creativity. And so I am constantly thinking about how we are sort of setting the table, setting the conditions, having all the right capabilities and partnerships and talents and skills to be able to do that, across the total brand experience.
I would love your advice on how we can protect the creativity in our office here. Like, what have you noticed in this space? What can we do to help out our creatives here? Yeah, I'm probably pretty perfect, I would say.
Yeah, I mean, I think
he doesn't have noise-canceling headphones.
Yeah, I think there's a lot right about this space.
It's really hot too.
It is. It's very warm. You're very close. Your team is very connected. You've got this very inspiring art collection here that I think is setting the bar for creative excellence.
Oasis poster. Yeah.
Yes, yes. I mean, I do actually think environment is important, but I think what is more important, which is what I do sense from your group, is like a shared mission. Like that is the power of disruption. Is every office, every person that works for TBWA is very clear on what we stand for and what makes us different and what we're trying to achieve. And when you come to work for us, you sign up for that, you buy into it. And I mean, obviously, I haven't spent a lot of time with you guys, but in the few minutes that I have, like,
Taking it.
you're all in on like a shared mission, and so it doesn't really matter what the space is because it's like a mindset that you share, and I think that's pretty important to protecting your soul.
Thank you, Erin. I hope everybody heard that loud and clear. It's fantastic. Let's get into the good stuff now. I think that these are the questions. I think we're going to break it down by the aspiring to the mid-level to the senior professional. And a lot of the times our aspiring leaders, they're trying to break into the industry, or maybe they got their first job, but people reach out to me all the time for asking for advice on how to thrive in this business. So my question to you, Erin, is looking back, what are the 3 leadership decisions you made that most accelerated your path to global CEO?
Yes. Okay. Well, I mean, I think obviously your career is probably the sum total of a lot of micro decisions. But yeah, there are probably a few that stand out. I think one, and I probably didn't totally get this, on my first job, but pretty quickly after that, I realized that it really mattered where I worked. The culture, what they believed in, their soul. I was much more dedicated, much more invested, willing to like run through fire because I felt like I was a part of something that was bigger than the thing or the small task that I had to do. And so I think it's quite important as you're, starting to build your career even early on that you're pretty intentional about working for places, not that are like the most famous or the sexiest or give you the biggest inflated title or even the biggest salary, but that you're ultimately, taken by what they're trying to do. It goes back to that sort of mission piece, that, you feel like it's a place that's going to invest in you, nurture you, see you for who you really are, that doesn't ask you to be anything that you're not, and that you can be authentic because the person you are is motivated by the thing that they're doing.
Love it. How do you find that out from a company?
I do think the companies that have it tell you, it's pretty evident. Like when you walk into our offices, we have the disruption company everywhere. We fly pirate flags because we think it's, better to be a pirate than in the Navy. The questions we ask you, the things that we want to know about you, I think will give you a lot of clues about what we care about.
It's just like a brand audit. Like it should be on their site. It should be on their socials. It should be everywhere. That ethos should be known.
Yeah. Yeah, it should be. I mean, it shouldn't be hidden on an About Us page on their website. It should be in everything that they do, and it should be in their work. If you are looking at a place, like I do think you have to do your diligence. Again, I think when you're early in the career, almost any experience is good experience because whether it's good or bad, you learn from it. But again, I think as you're starting to talk about your second, maybe third role, you have to be much more intentional and you do have to kick the tires, like ask people. There are plenty of people that know, I mean, this is not a big industry. Like you can find out like what's the vibe, what's show and what's real. And what were other people's experiences. I think, not everything is perfect, but there's an essence, there's a DNA to a place. And I think that has to be as important as the specific role that you might be entertaining.
So the first decision was finding the right companies, the value alignment there, reading and finding their brand ethos and what attracted you, making those decisions to go there. Okay, what's the next decision that helps you accelerate your path to global CEO?
I think it's about really pushing yourself to diversify your skill set. I had been in the business for a while, was starting to get pretty senior. And I just felt like, not certainly that I knew it all because I definitely didn't, but I sensed that there were limits to what I was learning. And by doing kind of the same thing over and over again. And I knew to be a better marketer, a better advertiser. I needed to expand my horizons. And so I first did that I was at BBH at the time. Loved that whole experience. It was formative for me. But I was starting to get itchy. And they had a unit that was more consultancy, more innovation, interacted with clients in a much different way, had skin in the game. And so even though it was smaller, it didn't have the levels and probably the same prominence. It certainly didn't have the powerhouse brands that the core agency had.
Yeah.
I sort of actively sought it out because I felt like it would work a different muscle. And that was a springboard to actually going client side for a period of my career, which was invaluable in terms of me having much more dimensional skill set and developing fluency in things that, I was observing, like coming from a creative agency, I was observing in my client's business or in some of the IAT partners, but I wasn't accountable for driving those results. I wasn't, I didn't have to orchestrate IATs. I didn't have to think about in-house and out-of-house models. It really stretched me in different ways. I was building upon skills that I had developed, but it pushed me to dimensionalize myself.
What was the brand?
I worked at Cole Haan. And then Old Navy, which also, was not that calculated. I have to be honest. It wasn't like I was like, I want to work at a retail lifestyle fashion brand.
Oh, your career map.
Yeah, the career map. Yeah, the plan to go client side was very calculated. The foot in the door was, they were a client of the agency, and the CMO was like, "Hey, how about you switch sides?" And I was like, "Yep, okay, that sounds pretty good."
Because you're already feeling those emotions, what were you feeling when the CMO might have asked?
Yeah, at that point, I probably wasn't. I probably wasn't ready, honestly, emotionally to leave BBH because I was so invested in that place. But I was yearning for something different. I was yearning for a different kind of experience. And I knew that probably going client side was that. And so as soon as that opportunity showed up, I actually, this is kind of funny, Troy Ruhanen, who is my boss now, I was talking to him about a different role that would have been an agency leadership role, but ultimately decided to go client side for something that probably, on paper maybe didn't look as senior, but it got me into a whole different a whole different environment with a whole different list of responsibilities and perspectives. And ultimately, I think that's what allowed me to come back into the agency world at the sort of real leader level, at the CEO level.
I like this. So number one was aligning values to the companies that you're searching for, you want to work for. 2 is diversifying your skill set. You went brand side, but also at BBH, you went into a different sector. So the third decision you made that accelerated your path to global CEO.
Yeah, I think, this one is in many ways like you have to reconcile with the second one, which is, I think, knowing when to stay. I spent 10 years at BBH. I'm in my 10th year at TBWA.
Wow.
My stint at Cole Haan was a pretty long one. So I feel like we can get very short term when we are guiding our careers, especially because we're feeling like the acute pressure of wanting to keep up, wanting to grow our skills, wanting to keep ascending. There's a very real pressure of you need to make more money. Often we're living in the most expensive cities in the world. And so you can get really, I think, seduced by the title and the salary, and leave something that is ultimately a better environment for your growth. When you stay someplace, I don't see that as complacency if you keep pushing yourself and reinventing yourself within that space. I see that loyalty is building currency, it's building equity, it's building the permission to take bigger risks, to try things that you might not be able to try at a new place. Once you're established and proven, I think you have a much broader canvas in a way. And so I think we are often trained to think about jumping from one place to the next to get ahead, when I think there can be real power in staying, if it's the right kind of place, and using that that tenure to your advantage in creating bigger opportunities for yourself.
Love it. Love it. So those are the 3 things that helped accelerate you to global CEO. I love it. Next, I want to talk about the mid-level creatives, the people that are doing the work, or maybe they're in the mid-level range for account management here. What's one habit or mindset mid-level professionals need to adopt if they want to move from executing ideas to shaping them at the table?
Yeah. I think this is exactly, the phase in your career where all of a sudden you might have a seat at the table. You might be asked to step up. You might be asked to present something or lead something or, create something. And I think my biggest piece of advice at that level is don't flinch. We are all plagued with a level of self-doubt. You might not think you're ready, or you are a little uncomfortable, or you're not ready to be in the spotlight. And I think it is essential that you fake it till you make it, and that you take those moments, like seize the moment, be in the room, be at the table, have a point of view, have a perspective. Not everyone is an extrovert. And so this isn't about being loud, but it is about having some conviction and having some presence, even at the mid-level. Making sure that you're having impact, and when they sort of like give you the chance to step up, like run through that opportunity.
Love it. What was that moment for you?
The one that comes to mind probably most is when I first started at BBH. Actually, I think I was like an account. I might not even have been an account manager. And the thing I was brought to work on, they didn't actually get, or they didn't win or something. So I showed up and they were like, well, the bad news is we don't actually have that account. The good news is, we're not going to fire you. You're just going to pitch. And so I pitched for like 9 straight months, which was the probably best experience of my career. But we were doing this pitch for Viagra. And, I was sort of, pitch support. I was, helping organize things, keep the timeline, that kind of thing. And I was in the room for some of the discussions. But this was a pretty big pitch. So it was being driven by sort of CEO, CSO, much higher levels.
Best visibility.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, totally. Like days before the presentation, they realized that the rather provocative narrative that they were planning to present was not appropriate coming from the 2 male senior authors of the work.
Yep.
And that the woman who was actually above me looked like she was 12. And so that also wasn't going to work. And so they were like, hey, can you basically present 90% of this deck to this board of, Pfizer leaders?
And you didn't flinch.
And I was like, absolutely. And then I thought, shit, whoa, what? And I had a sense that I could do it, but I expressed, no doubt, and just practiced and practiced and practiced and practiced. It's obviously don't flinch is part of it, but also don't fuck it up is part of it. So you do need to put in the prep. And we did not win that pitch, by the way. But I came back to my desk and had flowers from Cindy Gallup on it.
Oh, nice. I gotta get her on the pod.
Yeah. Oh my, that would be amazing. And I think for me, it was a turning point in my own self-confidence. And I think it was a turning point for me in terms of how they saw me and what my capability, was. And, it was, it was something that I remember to this day, that they actually were the kind of place that would give me the chance, and that I stepped up and then, would be recognized by Cindy.
Yeah. What was her title at the time?
She was the CEO. Oh, my title or her title?
Her title.
Yeah, she was running the New York office.
Oh, wow. So she gave you flowers, effort. She recognized that you gave it your best.
Yeah.
At that point, you can kind of blame the creative idea, the presentation. You just presented
I think that this was a time when buzz marketing was a thing.
What is buzz marketing?
It's
BuzzFeed.
Yeah, I think it's what we would call culture first, social first,
Yeah.
viral. But then it was buzz, and so we had some pretty provocative ideas, and it turned out they did not actually want buzz on Viagra.
Huh? well, then you're not going to win it.
No.
Yeah,
Yes.
so that's out of your control. So don't flinch and don't F it up. Don't fuck it up. I swore. Oh, thanks, Ellie. Okay, the last section here for the senior agency leaders. Maybe they just got into leadership or they've been in leadership. They're listening to this podcast or watching this clip right now. What's the biggest blind spot you see in agency leaders today? And what should they change if they want to lead teams that produce braver, more effective, creative work?
Yeah, I mean, I think you have to lead brave work by being a brave leader.
Mhm.
You know, you have to model bravery. And I think people assume that when you're senior, you can, do whatever you want or make, the hard calls and make decisions more easily or, like be courageous because you're the boss. When in fact, I have found that a lot of senior leaders carry the burden of that responsibility, very heavily. Like it's serious. The stakes are high. We have obviously a financial responsibility to whoever owns us. We have responsibility to our clients and we have responsibility to our employees. And sometimes that can be paralyzing if you're not careful. And you have to, I think, remember that what you tolerate defines you. What you tolerate in your culture, what you tolerate in your work, what you tolerate in terms of meeting your standard of excellence. I think sometimes we can have a blind spot, especially if something isn't terrible. It's just okay. But, just okay can begin to define you if you tolerate it too long. And I had a boss once who said, if you leave a turd in your pocket too long, you start to smell like shit. And, I think what he meant is if you surround yourself with people who are mediocre, like you become mediocre. And so I think for senior leaders, it is really remembering that we have to be like really pretty intentional and precise and kind of unrelenting in setting the standard for our people. I think they want that from us. Of course, they want a nurturing environment. They want a place where they can experiment and fail, and that's okay. But the standard has to be the standard. And I think you have to be like very, very clear about where your energy goes and what you tolerate. And, you're paid to make the hard decisions, so make them.
Love it. Well done. Those are the questions about becoming a boss in advertising. I did not ask you how you broke into advertising, so tell us that story. That's the name of the freaking podcast.
Yeah.
I forgot that question.
That question. Yeah. I mean, I wish that it was some, like wild tale, but I was pretty lucky. I mean, I graduated. I knew.
Great school, by the way, Syracuse. Good ad school, good journalism program.
Yeah. Went to Newhouse. Knew I wanted to live in New York City. Applied to, bunch of agencies and got hired to work at McCann on L'Oreal.
Oh, nice.
Which was an amazing first experience.
First job, account management. You stayed that track for...
I did. I mean, it's interesting. When I graduated, I was actually interested in strategy. And someone told me, oh, no, they don't hire junior strategists. Start as an account person, which I actually think was not true. But I listened and think that was probably better suited for me anyways.
Yeah.
But always
I don't know
appreciated.
How those strategists do it.
Yeah.
Like that, I don't get how they do it. Like,
yeah, it's
people ask me, how do you break into strategy? I go, I don't know.
Yeah.
I have no clue.
Clearly neither did I because I've been in account management.
Did you want to like transition into strategy? Was that like the original?
No, I think originally I thought like, okay, get your foot in the door and then maybe. And then I think I did realize that actually account management was what suited me best and that the best account people, and I believe this to this day, are deeply strategic.
You have to be.
You have to be. And probably just the right level of my partner, Jen Costello, who's our global CSO, is literally brilliant.
Yes.
And so I'm always like sticking my nose into her strategy, but I know at the end of the day, like she is next level.
Right.
I can.
You have to speak the language, and like I always think about majors and minors. It's like when I was breaking in, I majored in account management, but my minor was public relations. And I think a good combo for account management is like you major in account management, you minor in strategy. I think that's a really good way to, like, even if you go into a job interview, they should be able to understand that right away.
Yeah.
You don't want to say you can do both really well. Like I'm either one, because that means to me it's probably you're not that good at either.
Yeah. You have to. Yeah, I think you have. I think especially. I mean, look, I think it's quite challenging for folks who are just graduating now and coming into this business. You know, all the statistics are suggesting that there are less and less of those entry-level jobs. So I think you need to be clear about what you want to do. And I think you have to, I do think, though, you have to accept that, like, sometimes you just do need to get your foot in the door and then figure it out. But you have to kind of know, again, I think it goes back to doing your research. You know, like talk to some people, find out what these roles actually do. And you know what you're good at. You know what your superpowers are. And the disciplines are different enough that one or the other.
You would think that sometimes I get on these calls with seniors that recently graduated, and they tell me I'm either an account person or a copywriter. Not sure yet. I'm like, okay, we need to talk.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's like code red to me.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, well, we got to figure this out.
I think you're right. And I think, again, like, I can understand at that early point, it's like you're attracted to creativity and it's not quite clear yet whether you're going to be an orchestrator of creativity or a craftsman of creativity. Mm-hmm. But I would say if you spend more time talking to people who work in agencies and what the actual daily grind is, are you someone who's a creator or are you someone who appreciates creativity? That's pretty different.
Yes.
So, but I mean, maybe there are some environments that allow you to wear lots of hats. I certainly think
this one, breaking, entering media, you'll do it all.
Yeah. I mean, there is a place for everyone. And I guess that's the point is like, yes, sometimes out of desperation, you feel like you just got to take the thing. Mm-hmm. But I do think it's worth like really exploring yourself and then understanding like what the landscape is. Put some work into really understanding so that you can kind of try and find like, if you want to be a jack of all trades, start in a place that allows that.
Startups.
It's probably not a big, huge agency, but right, it might be a startup or a smaller place. But there are other people who want that kind of structure. They know what they want the path. So it's like you got to find a place that can meet you where you are.
Yeah. Erin, you crushed it. Is there anything else that I didn't ask you that you want to tell the people?
No, I don't think so. I mean, I think, it's like anything else. I think a career in advertising requires that you stay super open, super flexible, super resilient. You have to believe in yourself and use that as a compass, but be humble enough to realize that, you don't know everything and you can learn from like the most unlikely places. And it's, I think 80% intention and 20%, luck.
Yeah. I agree. I love it. How can people reach out to you, or does TBWA have internships? Like, are there recruiters they should talk to? Is there a special website? When do they open up? Give us the rundown. How can people break in?
Yeah, I mean, all of our offices have various programs at various times. So I think probably the easiest thing to do is like check their website, check the websites. I think that's probably the best thing to. I know that's very broad, but like
check the websites. And we'll also maybe we'll have an internship.
Yeah, maybe we could, or even like tag, a few of the folks in recruitment or whatever, learning and development.
If we remember to do that.
Yeah,
we will do that. Listen, it's hard out here to remember stuff for me. I'll actually have a pen right here. I'm going to write a note. You just
take that.
Recruiter names. Erin, you crushed it. Thank you for coming on.
Yeah, thank you guys.
Come back in whenever you want. This is phenomenal stuff.
Yeah. I mean, I think you guys are disrupting the space. You're disrupting sort of the media space. So I was really interested to spend time with you because, as I mentioned a few times before, we're the disruption company. Disruption is our thing. And so like seeing you guys doing that in such a fresh way is inspiring. I think, especially for those of us who have been at it for a while, it reminds us that there's like always something new. like always an original thought, always a way to reinvent a space.
Thank you. Thank you. We're trying to be buzzy.
Yes.
Amazing. Well, that means a lot coming from you. Perfect.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.